This is a great fun teapot. I always enjoy these things.
Yeah, it's
They're
wonderful.
usually called bargeware teapots. Made at Measham in Derbyshire, South Derbyshire, for the bargeware people often. They often get damaged because they're very soft earthenware. This one's had a bit of a bash there, and the spout is missing.
Yes.
But that's often the case, and one doesn't worry too much about the fact that they're damaged because of the likelihood of them being damaged.
Quite delightful.
Most of them come from the 1860s to 80s, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Often they have dates and names on them. This
Yes.
one is plain, but
Yes.
they are sprigged with lovely little bits of clay, made in moulds and stuck on, and then slipped with decoration. It's sort of a late survivor of English slipware.
Oh, really?
I think they're great fun. And apart from the damage, they are now getting quite collectible. I suppose they're often named 1 gallon or 2 gallon teapots because they hold an enormous amount
deal
of
of tea, yes.
Well, we haven't had one on the programme since I think about Edinburgh, which is 5 or 6 years ago. So
how exciting!
It's interesting. It's nice to see one.
Yeah.
They've gone up a bit in price since those days. Used to be only £20-30. Now they've gone up to a couple of £100.
Oh.
But the damage in this one brings it down, I suppose, to perhaps £125, something like that.
Yeah.
This is your entire collection, is it? Or is this just a bit of it?
It's a bit of it, yeah.
Well, I'm amazed. When did you start?
My parents started me off years ago before I was born.
And which was the first car that you actually went out and bought, or which was the earliest recollection that you have here of all the cars?
I'm not really sure, to tell you the truth. It's probably these two.
Yes, I mean they look very sort of bright and flashy, and they're everything that a toy car ought to be. But in fact, the most interesting one is this one, which is a little dinky toy made between about 1936 and 1938. And what's interesting about it is the fact that at the front, it's got the radiator is actually a piece of tin plate which has been put on. I suppose really next in date order, we're going to be looking at something like that, which is a Triang Minic toy, another English toy, and that is, I think that's a German, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a shoe. Yeah, it's a shoe case.
That's another
same as
shoe
these
case.
ones.
So these three here are the English contenders, and all roughly the same date. It's between 1930 and 1940. The Schuko cars were different in that they were made of tin plate rather than being die cast, which is what the dinky toys were.
Yeah.
And they came in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Now, this one is interesting because this was voice activated. And have you got the key to this? Does it still work?
I haven't got the key with me, I'm afraid. No,
Not
it
to
does
worry.
work. Yeah, they all work.
And what you have to do, you shout at it, don't you? And it stops, and
That's
then you
it, yeah.
shout at it again, and it goes.
goes.
And that's all done through the grill at the top. So I suppose you must have quite a sort of heavy sort of shout. And then off it goes. And underneath, there's the very nice detail of the engine. This Schuko car, well, in fact, they're both very similar, aren't they? I like this one particularly because it's got a gear lever, and you've actually got forward and reverse gears. Did you used to play with this? I mean, you say that. So when you first got these, even as a child, you knew that you weren't supposed to play with them.
Well, they were bought for me, and they was put in a display cabinet.
And you weren't ever tempted?
No.
So what did you play with?
Well, my parents bought me ordinary modern cars to play with.
So that's a nice little group of cars, and the value of those are going to be really quite surprising. I suppose that everybody knows that early dinky toys are valuable, and that particular toy in that sort of condition would be talking about perhaps £250 to £300, which I guess is, I hope it's more than either you or your parents paid for it. But I think that what's more surprising to people these days is the value on these later tin plate cars, because there are a lot of people now who collect just Schuko cars in the way that they used to collect just dinkies. And these two rather larger cars, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see those at £150 or £180 a piece. And the voice command car, perhaps £100, and so on.